Everything you think you are, your face, your name, your memories, is just the surface, a temporary interface, a character in a larger transmission. What if the person you call me is not the source, but the signal? The truth is hard to swallow. You are not your body. You are not your thoughts. You are not even your story. You are a projection, holographic, intelligent, alive, streamed into this physical realm by something far greater, far more complete, your higher self. And just like a hologram, every part of you contains the whole. You are not a fragment. You are a full expression, just operating at a lower resolution, a filtered version. Your higher self exists outside of linear time, outside of ego, outside of fear. It sees your entire arc across lifetimes. It knows the lessons you came here to learn, the codes you're meant to unlock, the version of you that already remembers how this game works. This body, it's the terminal. This reality, it's the simulation. And you are the avatar, a lens, a receiver, a focused beam of consciousness designed to navigate this dense layer of experience, not to be lost in it, but to transform within it. Most people never realize this. They mistake the projection for the source. They build their lives around the mask, chasing validation for the hologram while ignoring the intelligence that sent it here. But something inside you knows. You've felt it. That moment of déjà vu, that sense of watching yourself from somewhere else, that quiet pull to something higher, even when everything seems to make sense on the surface. That's not imagination. That's the signal trying to break through. You see, a hologram isn't just an image, it's a frequency-made form. It holds depth without mass, structure without substance, and it obeys a simple rule. Change the signal at the source, and the entire projection changes instantly. You are the same. The you that walks, talks, plans, and worries is not the source of your consciousness. It's the output. It's the visible result of an invisible frequency. And that frequency, it originates from a higher dimension, a level of self that is not bound by fear, identity, or limitation. This is why true transformation never starts on the surface. You can change your habits, your relationships, your beliefs, but if you never shift the signal, the hologram remains the same. The patterns repeat. The lessons circle back. The same mistakes reappear wearing different faces. But once you begin to tune into the source, that higher self that exists beyond time, everything begins to shift. You stop reacting and start observing. You stop identifying with the drama and start aligning with the design. You begin to realize that the obstacles in your path are not accidents. They're instructions, clues built into the simulation to help the projection awaken to the projector. And here's the wild part. Your higher self is always guiding you, through synchronicities, through intuition, through that quiet inner knowing that doesn't shout but never leaves you alone. The problem isn't that the guidance isn't there. The problem is the hologram isn't listening, because you were trained to believe you are the image, not the light that created it. But now that's starting to change. You're waking up from the dream of form. You're beginning to suspect that this world is not all there is, that maybe, just maybe, you've only been looking at the reflection, not the real. What happens when the hologram realizes it's a hologram? It doesn't disappear, it activates. Most people fear the idea that they're not fully real, that their identity, their thoughts, their entire selfhood is just a temporary expression. But that fear comes from misunderstanding. You're not less real because you're a projection. You're more connected, more purposeful, more powerful than you've ever been told. Because if you're a projection, that means you're connected to a source, and that source is infinite. This is what ancient mystics, shamans, and seers across cultures have always pointed toward. The idea that the self you think you are is only a mask, a veil, and behind that veil is the true self, consciousness with no name, no age, no fear of death, a being that sees the entire picture because it exists outside of the frame. In spiritual traditions, this higher version of you is sometimes called the Oversoul, the Atman, the inner being. But no matter the name, the truth remains. The real you is not in the body, it's projecting the body. Like light through a lens, filtered through density, condensed into experience. And this projection, this version of you reading these words right now, is not the lowest form. It's the front line. You are the eyes, ears, heart, and hands of a larger self exploring physicality from the inside. You're not here by accident. You're not a glitch. You're an explorer embedded in illusion to rediscover the truth from within it. The forgetting was part of the design. The remembering? That's your mission. And when you start living with this awareness, when you stop asking, "Who am I?" and start asking, "Who is watching through me?" you shift the entire projection. You go from being lost in the simulation to navigating it. And once you begin navigating the simulation from that higher awareness, something strange begins to happen. Reality bends, patterns shift, things that once felt heavy, fear, anxiety, scarcity, start to lose their grip. Not because you forced them away, but because your signal changed. The hologram recalibrated. You begin to notice synchronicities, not as coincidences, but as confirmations. You speak a thought, and someone echoes it. You feel a pull, and the right book, person, or message appears. This isn't magic, it's mechanics. The projection is aligning with the projector. Your inner frequency is no longer out of sync with your outer reality. And here's where it gets even deeper. The world you see around you is not separate from your projection, it's within it. This is what the mystics meant when they said, "As within, so without." The hologram doesn't just include your body and mind, it includes your relationships, your environment, even your obstacles. All of it, reflections of your signal. All of it, malleable once you tune into the source. Think about it. A hologram can change instantly if you adjust the laser that generates it. The shape, the color, the clarity, all shift in real time. You are no different. You don't need to force the world to change. You need to raise the clarity of the signal you're emitting. The projection follows. But to do that, you must stop identifying with distortion. Stop believing the thoughts that were programmed into your hologram by fear, trauma, and culture. Those thoughts are not you. They are filters, static, and the more you believe them, the more scrambled your signal becomes. But when you get quiet, truly quiet, you can feel the clean signal. The one that was there before the noise, the voice that doesn't shout but always knows. That's the projector. That's your higher self. And the moment you listen, everything begins to respond. If this is helping you remember what you've always known deep down, subscribe and turn on the bell. You're not just watching, you're reconnecting. Once you reconnect to the projector, the higher self, the nature of challenge changes. Problems don't vanish, but your relationship to them transforms. You stop seeing life as happening to you and start seeing it as happening through you. Every experience, no matter how difficult, becomes information. Every trigger becomes a clue. Every breakdown becomes a message from the source, asking, "Are you ready to update the signal?" Because that's what healing really is. It's not fixing the hologram. It's clearing the distortion in the beam. The stories you inherited, the fears you never questioned, the false identities you agreed to wear. All of them bend the light. All of them shape the projection. But once you start remembering that you are not the reflection, you are the one casting it, you begin to reclaim your power. And with that awareness, the simulation becomes flexible. Suddenly, patterns you've repeated for years dissolve. People you've outgrown fall away. New opportunities emerge, not because you worked harder, but because the field rearranged itself to match your upgraded signal. The projection shifted to reflect a clearer image of your higher self. You're no longer trapped inside a system designed to keep you asleep. You're navigating it like a lucid dreamer, awake inside the illusion, but no longer bound by it. This is what the mystics meant by awakening, not an escape, an integration. You still have a body, you still walk through time, but something in you is rooted elsewhere, above the illusion, above the identity, watching, guiding, adjusting the signal as you clear the static. And the more you trust that process, the more you align with that version of you, the more the hologram begins to reveal its true design, not as a prison, but as a playground for expansion. What most people don't realize is that the hologram isn't just a reflection, it's interactive. It responds in real time to the quality of your signal. Every thought you think, every belief you hold, every emotion you suppress or express, feeds back into the field and shapes the image being broadcast. So when you're stuck in fear, the simulation mirrors chaos. When you radiate presence, clarity emerges. When you believe you're small, reality shrinks to match. But when you remember that you are the projection of a greater intelligence, that this whole thing is responsive, you begin to move differently. You become intentional, conscious, directed. The world stops being random. It becomes responsive. Your relationships begin to shift, not because other people changed, but because you did. Your field no longer vibrates with desperation, confusion, or need. It resonates with sovereignty, with inner coherence, and the hologram updates accordingly. Even your perception of time begins to distort. Moments stretch or compress. synchronicities compound. You might think of someone and they call. You might ask a question and the answer appears in a stranger's sentence, or a lyric, or a passing headline. This isn't superstition, it's resonance. The more in tune you are with the projector, the faster the projection reflects your inner world. And with that realization, something profound becomes clear. You don't need to chase outcomes. You need to tune your signal, because reality, as you've been taught to see it, is just one version of the film, one slice of possibility. But the projector, the higher self, contains the full reel, all timelines, all potentials, all parallel versions of you. The version you experience is the one your signal tunes into, like a radio station. You want a different life? Change the frequency. The hologram will follow. And now you begin to understand why so many ancient teachings emphasized inner stillness, presence, and detachment. It wasn't to escape life, it was to tune the projection. Because when your mind is noisy, your signal is scrambled. When your energy is reactive, your hologram reflects chaos. But when you quiet the static, the image sharpens. Stillness is signal clarity. That's why the higher self doesn't yell, it doesn't argue, it simply broadcasts, continuously, steadily, waiting for you to match its frequency. The closer you align with that tone, the more you feel peace for no reason, trust without evidence, and presence without distraction, the more the simulation begins to respond with grace instead of friction. But alignment isn't something you force, it's something you allow. You don't raise your frequency by pretending to be calm or by bypassing fear with fake positivity. You raise it by feeling everything fully and still choosing to return to center. That return, again and again, is what sharpens the connection. That's how you remember the projector. Not by escaping the human experience, but by using it to refine your resonance. And when you do that, when the signal is clean, your reality becomes fluid. Old timelines dissolve. New versions of yourself come online. You stop trying to control what's outside and start editing what's within. Because you understand now, the outer world is a trailing echo. The real shift always happens upstream, in the projector, not the screen. And when you live from that space, everything slows down, becomes intentional, becomes sacred. You stop needing to be seen and start seeing. You stop reacting to shadows and start shaping light. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this showing me about my frequency? Because once you see the simulation clearly, you start to play on purpose. The deeper this realization sets in, the more the illusion starts to dissolve, not as a collapse, but as a quiet unveiling. You no longer panic when things fall apart. You don't beg the simulation to fix itself. Instead, you go inward. You ask, what signal am I sending? What part of me is this reflection showing me? What distortion have I left unresolved? Because you now know, the projection is feedback, a precise mirror of your field, nothing more, nothing less. And that feedback is sacred. It means nothing is random. Every delay, every trigger, every encounter is data, not punishment, not failure, just information about your current alignment. And once you receive it, not as blame, but as guidance, the field responds, rapidly, rewriting entire paths in a matter of days, hours, even moments. This is why those who operate from alignment often appear to manifest effortlessly. They're not lucky, they're clear. Their signal isn't clogged with contradiction. Their desires match their embodiment. Their intention matches their emotion. Their mind, heart, and field speak one frequency, and that kind of coherence bends reality. But coherence doesn't mean perfection. It doesn't mean never feeling fear, sadness, or doubt. It means not being ruled by them. It means letting them pass through without rewriting your identity, without scrambling your transmission, because you now recognize yourself as something deeper than emotion, deeper than thought, deeper than form. You are the light behind the lens, the awareness behind the avatar, the signal behind the hologram. And when you live from that knowing, something shifts. You stop trying to be someone and start expressing what's always been. At some point, you stop chasing the simulation and you start designing it. You no longer ask the world to validate your worth. You stop waiting for signs from outside because you realize the clearest sign is already within you. It's the stillness, the knowing, the unshakable sense that you are not lost, you are streaming. Every breath, every step, every decision becomes intentional. Not perfect, not rigid, but aligned. Because you've remembered what most forget. You are not the shadow on the wall. You are the light casting it. And the body you inhabit, the life you navigate, the name you were given, all of it is temporary architecture. Beautiful, fragile, necessary, but not final. Because when the hologram ends, when the projection fades, you don't disappear, you reintegrate, you return to the source that sent you, expanded, enriched, awakened. This journey you're on, it's not about becoming someone, it's about remembering who's behind the lens. So, pause, breathe, feel, and then ask yourself, not with your mind, but with your field, who's watching this life through my eyes? Now tell me, what's the moment in your life when you first suspected you were more than just a body? Drop it in the comments. Let's see how many of us are starting to remember.